G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's round of the AFL games. Before I start, it will be muchly appreciated if you can subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be very much appreciated. Alright, let's get the show started. Let's go! Yeah! My round 12 summary. I tipped Port Adelaide to beat Carlton. Incorrect, damn it. Carlton beat the Power. The second game, I tipped the Pies to beat the Doggies. Damn it. The Doggies won. The third game, I tipped the Hawks to beat the Crows. Woohoo! Yeah, got that correct. The fourth game, I tipped the Eagles to beat the Saints. Damn, incorrect. The fifth game, I tipped Geelong to beat Richmond. Woohoo! Got that correct. On Sunday, I tipped Melbourne to beat Freo. Damn, incorrect. Melbourne got smashed by 92 points. And the last game, I tipped the Bombers to beat the Suns. Damn you, got that wrong as well. Therefore, I selected 2 out of 7 correct. My total in 2024 season is 69. The first game of the week is between Adelaide and Richmond, played on the Thursday night at Adelaide Oval. The players in the mix for the Crows are Pedler, Darling, Curtin and Gallant. For the Tigers, their players in the mix are Banks and Kosicki. The Crows will be missing a number of players that includes Rankin, Philfort, Worrell, Crouch, Parnell and Miller. Whereas the Tigers will be missing Taranto, Hopper, Lynch, Graham, Ross, Rioli, that's Maurice Rioli, Gibcus and LaFou, who did his knee last week. Both teams, especially the Tigers, have lots of injuries. Last week, the Crows lost to the Hawks in Melbourne and the Tigers lost to Geelong in Geelong by 30 points. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Crows in ruck midfield you have O'Brien, Schoenberg, Laird, Solidigo and Dawson if he passes a fitness test. For the Tigers, they have Nankervis in ruck, Pickett, Banks, Baker, Ralph Smith. If we compare the two, in ruck, you have O'Brien against Premiership ruckman Nankervis. He will gather more possessions around the ground. In the midfield, you have Dawson's class, All Australian Dawson, against Pickett. Dawson's elite, so you back Dawson to beat Pickett. And then the rest, you got Schoenberg against youngsters in Banks, Laird against Baker, Solidigo, young up-and-comer superstar against Ralph Smith. You expect double Crows midfielders to do well against the young, undermanned Richmond's midfield, especially they're missing 2/3 of their midfields in their Tarantos, the Hopper, Graham, etc. Based on this, given that the Crows do have a number of injury cloud, Dawson and Walker are 50-50 based on the time of this video that's been recorded. I still expect the Crows to win at home. They were very disappointed against Hawthorn. The Tigers put in a good effort against Geelong, but I just expect a reaction from the Crows. They were very poor against Richmond, but all credit to Hawthorn for applying all those pressure and winning all the contested balls, forcing Adelaide to go wide and slow ball movement. I just expect the Crows on a Thursday night, packed Adelaide Oval, on primetime TV. You expect a response. Therefore, I'm going to tip the Crows to win this game. The second game of the week, played on a Friday night, is between the Western Bulldogs and the Brisbane Lions, played at Marvel Stadium. The players in the mix for the Doggies are Baker and Poulter. For the Lions, their players in the mix include Robinson, Fort, Pryor and Lyons. The players injured for the Doggies are Waitman, Caulfield, Norton, Johannesson, Libber and Smith. The Lions will be missing Ashcroft, Answer, Starcewicz, and 4 players to ACL knee injuries in Gardner, McCarthy, Coleman and Doherty. Last week, the Lions had to bye and the Bulldogs beat Collingwood last week, also on a Friday night game. If we compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Doggies you have English in ruck with the Bont, Treloar, Harms and Williams in the midfield. For the Lions, you have McInerney in ruck with McCluggage, Neil, Dunkley and Berry as the midfielders. If we compare the two, English against McInerney, I tip English to win that ruck battle. The midfield is interesting. The Bont against Neil, I expect the Bont to have a greater performance than Neil. Then you have Treloar and McCluggage. That's a great battle. I've got Treloar in my top 5 performance in my Brownlee words. Harms against Dunkley. Dunkley will do well against his ex-side and also former Premiership player of the Bulldogs in 2016. Williams against Berry. Good matchup. William has a elite kicking. Berry is a good hard-working player who runs up and down all day. I expect this to be pretty even in the ruck midfield setup. It's going to be interesting who will score the goals. For the Doggies, they're missing Norton, so they will rely on Sam Darcy and Ugo Hagel to kick all the goals. But Brisbane, they've got a powerful forward line in Danaher, Hitwood and Cameron, but they're just not firing this year. And before the bye, the Lions lost to the Hawks pretty badly. Given the Bulldogs' confidence of their win against Collingwood last week, I'm going to tip the Bulldogs to win back-to-back, and I'm going to select the Doggies to beat the Lions. The next game, played on a Saturday in Tasmania, is between the Hawks and GWS Giants. The players in the mix for the Hawks are Watson and Wingard. For the Giants, their players in the mix are Peatling, McMullen, Rowson and Brown from suspension. The players injured for the Hawks are McCabe, Blunt and Butler, whereas the Giants are missing a number of players that include Cummings, Bruce, Kennedy, Lee, Kokonidio, Kelly and Ash. That's some great quality players that the Giants are missing, especially in their midfield. If we compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Hawks, Reece played against the Crows. Meek may return back from injury. We'll find out later in the week if Meek does return. Then you have the midfielders of Newcombe, Weddle, Walpole and McKenzie. The Hawks midfield totally dominated against the Crows last week. For the Giants, you got Briggs in ruck with Whitford, Callaghan, Green and Green. Hobie and Tom Green. If we compare, I assume that Meek returns back from injury. You have Meek against Briggs. Meek's doing very well. He's top 10 for hitouts 1-2 advantage. So he provides lots of first assistance to his midfielders. Then you have Newcombe against Whitfield. Newcombe hard under inside player, but can go on the outside. Gets Whitfield who can just run all day. Weddle, good young player, against Callaghan is also a good young player. Say that's 50-50. Then you have the hard inside player Warpel against Tom Green. Tom Green's a class midfielder, inside player. Patrick Cripps type. Say we give the chocolates to Tom Green. And then McKenzie against Toby Green. Say Toby Green wins that midfield battle between those two. The Giants on paper have the edge in the midfield, but they're robbing other positions, given that you have to play Toby Green in the midfield. And losing Ash, Kelly and Kikaniklio totally hurts their midfield. Based on this, and if the Hawks midfield even the midfield, they're going to put enough ball entry to their forward lines. Last week, players like Moore, Bruce and even Gunson had so many opportunities and scored lots of goals against the Crows. I'm going to tip the Hawks to win back-to-back and beat the Giants this week in Tasmania. The next game is played on Saturday afternoon between the Eagles and the Kangaroos. The players in the mix for the Eagles are Hall, Cully and Petrocelli. For the Kangaroos, their players in the mix are Phillips and Stevens. The players injured or out for the Eagles are Allen, Hewitt, Long and Reid to suspension. For the Roos, they will be missing Lowe, Goda and Coleman Jones. Last week, the Eagles lost to the Saints and North Melbourne had to bye. North Melbourne has not won a game this season and I'm not sure when they will get their first win of the season. They will make a big trip to Western Australia against an Eagles team that lost at home to St Kilda last week. Overall, the Eagles have been playing very good at home with some good wins against Melbourne Demons and Fremantle respectively. If you compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Eagles you have Williams in ruck with Gimby, Kelly, Jay Williams and Cheeser in ruck. Midfield, compared to North Melbourne where you got Xeri in ruck with LDU or Davies Uniacke in the midfield with Machercha, Phillips and Wardlaw in the midfield. If we compare the two, Williams against Xeri will give the chocolates to Xeri to win his position against Bailey Williams. Then it becomes interesting after that. In another second year player, Gimby against Davies Uniacke will select Davies Uniacke to win that position. Kelly of the Eagles to dominate against Machercha. Jay Williams and Phillips to even. And also Chesser and Wardlaw to even as well. I'm expecting the midfield to be 50-50 between both sides. And if that's the case, I expect the Eagles forwards to have more opportunity in scoring. Where you got Waterman, who's in the top 10 for the Coleman medal, Liam Ryan kicking goals, and I'm expecting Petrucella to return and kick goals for the Eagles. The Eagles have more firepower up forward. How will the young North Melbourne defenders manage against the West Coast forwards? Based on this and a game played back home in Perth, I'm going to tip the Eagles to win this game. The next game is between St Kilda and Gold Coast. This is going to be a hard one to tip. The players in the mix for the Saints are Philippou, Garcia and Brad Crouch. For the Suns, their players in the mix are Ellis, Casbolt, Day and Broderick. The players injured for the Saints are Hayes and Cordy, whereas the Suns will be missing Weller and Powell. Last week, the Saints won away against West Coast and the Suns beat Essendon at home. It's going to be a good game. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Saints, you have Marshall in ruck with the midfields of Ross, Heel, Steele and Windhager. For the Suns, you have Moyles in ruck with the midfields of Anderson, Rao, Miller and Flanders. If we compare, you expect Marshall to dominate against Moyle. Then it's interesting in the midfield. Ross against Anderson. Expect Anderson to do well against Ross. Hill against Miller. I expect Miller to do well against Hill. Jack Steele against Rao, both inside extracting midfielders. I assume that will be even between the two players. And Windhager against Flanders. I also expect that to be even. Saying all that, on paper the Gold Coast ruck midfield has an advantage against the Saints. However, the Saints had a great win against West Coast. West Coast have beaten many good sides at home, such as Fremantle and Melbourne Demons, and that was a great win from the Saints to win away on the road after losing so many games recently. I just have a gut feel. I'm going to tip the Saints. I reckon the Saints will win this game, just on the gut feel. It's a hard game to tip. Gold Coast have won so many games at home. I am not sure about their away record so far. Therefore, I will tip the Saints for this game. The next game of the week is between Sydney and Geelong, played at the SCG on the Sunday. The player in the mix for the Swans is Hamling. For the Cats, their players in the mix are Closey, Parfitt and Stanley. The players injured for the Swans are Mills, Corey Warner, Reid, McCartan, Shelderick and Parker to suspension. For the Cats, they will be missing Dangerfield, Edwards, Wiltshire and Cam Guthrie. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Swans you have Grundy in ruck with the midfields of Jordan, Rowbottom, Chad Warner and Gordon. For the Cats you have Flitcast in ruck with the midfields of Holmes, Henry, Duncan and Clark. When we compare the two, Grundy against Flitcast, you expect Grundy to give the Swans first news. Jordan against Holmes. Jordan's been a great recruit from Melbourne Demons. Holmes is going to be a great player in the future. We expect Holmes to edge out in that. Rowbottom against Henry. I expect Rowbottom to dominate between the pair. Chad Warner against Duncan. Chad Warner is an elite kicker, great player, and he's been a good player this year for the Swans. Against Duncan, another Western Australian. Duncan is a veteran, good player. However, Warner has a class at this stage of his career compared to Duncan. And Gordon, one of the best kickers ever, against Clark. On paper, the Swans have an awesome midfield, and that's excluding the other players like Heaney, who's my Brownlow. Based on that, I expect the Swans ruck and midfields to give their forwards more inside 50s, where the Swans put in forward line of the Heaneys, Papali, McDonald to score lots of goals, and therefore I'm going to tip the Swans to win this game. The next game played on a Sunday evening between the two arch rivals in Essendon and Carlton. The players in the mix for the Bombers are Setterfield and Shield. For the Blues, their players in the mix are Young, Carroll and Surfing. The players injured for the Dons are Draper, Parrish, Dersma and Hobbs. The players injured for the Blues are Fogarty, Martin, Sarah, Motlop, Sard, Pitnott, Doherty and Savani. Last week, Essendon lost to the Gold Coast Suns, and the Blues had a great win on a Thursday night and won over in Adelaide against Port Adelaide. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, at this stage I'll include Goldstein in ruck, but he may have an injury cloud, so he's 50-50 in playing for this game. But for this chat, I'll have Goldstein in my team. Then we have the midfields of Stringer, Perkins, Merritt and Cardwell for the Bombers. For the Blues, no Pitnott, you have De Koning in ruck with the midfields of Cripps, Kennedy, Hewitt and Walsh. If we compare the two, Goldstein against De Koning, Goldstein is a great tap ruckman. He'll win the hitouts, but De Koning is more mobile around the ground. De Koning will get a lot of possession around the ground. Can he make Goldstein pay? Then the midfields, the powerful Stringer against big body Cripps. Say that's even between those two players. Then you got Perkins, who's more of a runner, against another inside midfield in Kennedy. Then Merritt, running machine, against Hewitt, an extractor, and the hard-working Caldwell against the elite Walsh. It's a pretty good matchup between both pairs of sides. Say that this area is even, 50-50. It's going to be interesting, the forwards. For the Bombers, you got Langford and 2-meter Peter, with the Blues having McKay and Kernu up in the forward line with Fantasia. The Blues have been interesting this year. They've been inconsistent. They win games that you don't expect to win. Last week, a lot of people tipped the Power to beat the Blues, and the Blues had an amazing upset against the Power. For this case, I reckon Essendon will overcome that loss that they had against the Gold Coast Sun last week, and I'm going to tip the Bombers to win this game. The last game of the week is between Collingwood and Melbourne, played on King's birthday, the Monday. The players in the mix for the Magpies are Allen and Kruger. For the Demons, their players in the mix are Forstrop, Howes and Fullerton. The players injured for the Magpies are Eyre, Elliott, Hoskin Elliott, DeGoey, Myercheck, Mitchell, Cox, McStay and Pendlebury. The Demons will be missing Melksham, Spargo, Orr and Lever. Last week, Collingwood lost to the Bulldogs on a Friday night, and Melbourne absolutely got hammered by Fremantle by 92 points in the Northern Territory. So, we'll expect some retribution from the Melbourne team this week. If we compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for Collingwood you have Cameron in ruck with the midfields of both Dacos with Lipinski and Cripps. For the Ds, you have Gawn in ruck with Oliver, Winey, Petrarca and Sparrow in the midfield. If you compare the two, we have Karen against Gawn. You expect Gawn to win that position. Then in the midfield, you got Ndakos against Oliver. Ndakos is a great young player. Oliver is a extracting powerful midfielder. Say that's even between those two. Then you got Lipinski against Winey. Winey is a very strong in and under midfielder, leadership captain. We tip Winey to win that position. Then you have Cripps against Sparrow. Say that's even between both midfielders. The fourth midfield for Collingwood, you have J. Dacos against Petrarca. Petrarca, All-Australian elite inside-outside mid. We expect Petrarca to dominate between those two. On paper, the D's have a superior midfield. And Collingwood is missing a lot of forwards, where they've got injuries to Hoskin Elliott, DeGoey, Myercheck, Cox, Elliott. How are the Magpies going to score? If the Demons win the midfield and provide enough inside 50s, this would totally help them win a game. The Demons do have some injuries up forward. They're struggling to kick goals. They're very reliant on Bailey Fritz and Pickett to score lots of their goals, and they're missing Lever. However, Collingwood are missing a number of forwards, i.e. Cox or Myercheck, to mark the ball. Therefore, this cancels the injury to Lever, but the Demons still have May. I expect a reaction from Melbourne after that very, very poor performance against Fremantle, where they got absolutely annihilated by Fremantle. I'm going to expect a reaction, and I'm going to tip the Demons to win this game. My tips for this week are the Crows to beat Richmond on a Thursday night, the Doggies to beat the Lions, the Hawks to beat the Giants, the Eagles to beat the Kangaroos, the Saints to beat the Suns, the Swannies to beat the Cats, the Bombers to beat the Blues, and the Demons to beat the Magpies. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, please subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you. See ya.